Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Arndt, and this is my take on the review of the National Funeral Directors Association's 2020 Consumer Awareness and Preference Survey. That's a mouthful. Um, and also the yearly show with Ed Delfort. It was a phenomenal uh, review. There was a lot of information that I gleaned from it. Um, Going through with our discussion, um, just kind of the few things that I really gleaned from it was the areas of personalization that we can be seeing that I feel is going to be is one of my growth predictions coming up in the next 5 to 10 years. Um, Really is just like the DIY-ness of what a funeral comes to for loved ones who have lost um, a dear family member or a friend, and how they can possibly make their own urns, or even talking about making their own casket, like if Carpenter wants to make their own casket, um, up to the point of like being their own celebrant, so to speak, for memorialization. I think we're going to see more and more people wanting to get involved that way, and 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 just DIYing the funeral aspect of it. Um, Another thing that we're talking about DIYing is the obituaries. And, I would promote families to write their own obituaries for their loved ones. We just, as funeral directors, have to know the cost of submitting that to the local newspaper, or how many papers that they want to submit it to. Um, that cost can vary greatly between the regions and what cities you live in. Um, just off the top of my head, I know it's around a couple $100 to 500, depending on how many words you have in my area. But I have heard of newspapers in Chicago charging thousands of dollars. So we just have to be okay with that. Let the families know, and just do the spell check and grammar, and make sure that everything's decent and literate in writing, um, so that they can get the most bang for their buck in their obituaries. Um, Another one of my growth predictions for the next 5 to 10 years. But one thing that I was really, really surprised in the information that we saw was the alkaline hydrolysis, and how low the numbers were for that. I think it was around 2% or less of what the consumers really knew of it, or were utilizing in it. I know, just in the information that we've gleaned so far this semester, it's fairly new. There's only a couple places in the United States that are actually allowed to do it, even, um, and a couple places in Canada, in our region. So I think that that's a hurdle to that we as funeral directors need to overcome. Um, but I believe it will be well processed with families that are looking to find that final disposition maybe a little more gentler than by doing it by fire, or or really looking to get outside of the box of just doing a regular burial. Um, and I think that's another growth prediction. That's it. Alkaline hydrolysis can only grow. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's only going to grow, and you're going to see more people utilizing that once legislation comes through in some of the states, and once more funeral directors take that leap of faith to go into something new. But it's going to be exciting, I believe. That's my prediction anyway. Um, and as for social media, and what its stage can bring to families and people, particularly Facebook, you can reach so many people just by utilizing Facebook. But I feel like funeral homes need to use that more so for branding and for getting your name out and being visible in the community, possibly posting obituaries with family's consent, or allow the family to post your obituary on their own personal page. But really, I think your personal your funeral home website is the place for doing price points, and really getting in depth into the services that are available to the community and to the consumer. Obviously, you can write some short services that are available through a Facebook post, but generally speaking, a lot of times people are going to be scrolling through a lot of that stuff anyway. And if they see your name and your brand in a website, they can click on that and look more in depth to it that way. um, Looking at my notes here. Um, so the number of respondents who have received an invitation and why it increases year after year. I think there's more personalization to that. I think individuals and family members especially want to see their loved ones memorialized in a great way, and they want the tribute to be the lasting tribute that everybody remembers. And I think it's important to family members and to people that have lost their loved ones that the more it's sad to say, but I think I've been to funerals where there's not a lot of people that show up. Been to a funeral where some family hasn't even showed up for their deceased. And it's a sad thing to see. And it's a sad thing to see in the family's faces when that happens. I think to a lot of people in the back of their mind, the more people that they can get there, uh, means that deceased is more loved or more welcomed by the community, and I think that has a big deal with it. And I think that's why more and more people are actually sending personal invitations to the funerals, and also it's just a personalization thing, rather than just having somebody see it by newspaper or website. Some people cherish that personalization. Um, the other thing we had talked about is the low percentage of respondents who have attended a public event from a funeral home explaining their services or the details in a pre-arrangement or a pre-need. um, Putting on a luncheon and what that looks like. And I just think that, plain and simple, there's not enough funeral home owners that are doing it. Why, I don't know. I guess I never really even thought about doing a luncheon to explain the services and the availability of pre-arrangements. It's kind of a neat idea, and I think it's one that we all should take into account and really definitely consider in the future. Um, so for another growth prediction that I have, um, why are families choosing venues outside of the funeral home? And I really have, it goes back to being more personalized again. Um, I really think, if especially an older individual who died in a hospital or died in hospice at a nursing home, these individuals passed away sometimes with family by their side, but many times not with family by their side, inside of a facility. It wasn't their own home. There was no hominess to it. It was just a place. It was a facility. And I think a lot of times families may look at a funeral home as being another facility, or looking at a church as being another facility. And they want to remember their loved ones maybe at their home or at their favorite country club or golf course, or at a really nice hotel that used to have family reunions at all the time, or a centrally located hotel that has a hall and that you can enjoy family for maybe more than just a day, maybe for a weekend, and really celebrate the life of your loved one. And I think there's gonna be more and more people wanting to do this because it's just a really fun way of memorizing memorializing your loved ones. Excuse me, sorry. Um, and then it goes into celebrants, and I am one of those individuals who'd never heard of a celebrant until I started taking these courses. And I think a celebrant really can be a vibrant individual for kind of a really sorrowful, emotional day for a family. I think a celebrant, even though they will be emotionally connected, they won't be as connected as say a father who's just lost a child, that might not be able to promote the words out of his mouth. I think a celebrant is a really good buffer, that can read the crowd, who can bring life into the memorial, or into the tribute of the individual, and it takes the pressure off of the family to always be the center of attention, or always have to have the right words to say, especially in the very emotional times when they can't catch their breath because they're just overcome with emotion. Um, Growth prediction of environmentally friendly services. You know, I think there will be a slow and steady growth. I don't think it's going to gain enough attention or traction to break the 25%, maybe even 20% mold. Um, I truly believe that tradition trumps fads. The whole talk about global warming, this talk's been ongoing for many years. But it's just, we're not seeing the results as what some individuals had predicted in the past. Um, I say tradition trumps fads, even when, traditionally speaking, um, going green is how we did it for centuries uh, before what we're doing right now. But I just think that the way things are right now has been just hammered into individuals' heads, that um, people are just more open and just concise with how things are, and they don't want to change. There's a lot of people that don't like change. Um, 57.2% of respondents stated it would be very helpful to have price information posted on funeral home websites. I would agree. Um, I feel if we gave ballpark estimates, like, say, here's the very bare minimum that you can get with a direct cremation, and the minimal amount of services, no tribute, no memorial. Here it is, bare bones. You can have disposition of your loved one for this price. And then let's say you take the most extravagant things that you have in your funeral home, available to a consumer, and give them that price. And then try to meet some conservatively in the middle, where, like, maybe the most average, hey, here's the average for our region of what people are getting. And I think giving those three options would allow consumers to do some shopping, put it into their mind, and they wouldn't be so shocked to see that final sticker price jump out at them when it does happen to come up. Many people don't like being surprised, especially when it comes to you know, financial settings. So I think if you can give somebody a ballpark estimate, nothing set in stone, obviously, um, especially if you're doing it on Facebook, you don't have to do a massive price list check. I think you allow them individuals to contact you and ask the questions, and then give them the price list. Um, I think that's more than fair, and I think that consumers will respect that. If anything else, they will at least have a ballpark starting point of where to go, when the time comes that they need to have a funeral service. So those are my thoughts, and answers on our discussion of the review of the NFDA, um, and the yearly show with Ed Delfort, which great information, and very educational, and I truly enjoyed it. So, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well, and gleaned as much information from it as I did. Thank you for watching. Be blessed.